In this video, we're looking at autistic mate crime. What is it? How to spot it, and also how to protect yourself or someone that you know from it. And if you like this sort of content and want to learn more about autism, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell to let you know when I upload to the YouTube channel. But anyway, let's get straight into it. Well, hello indie people, I hope you're doing well. Now, what is a mate crime? Well, the term mate basically means friend. It's a British slang term. Mate crime is a coined term to a rather hideous and rather insidious form of disability hate crime. It is a form of crime where a person acting as a friend or an acquaintance befriends someone who is vulnerable. So this could be autistic people, or an autistic person in this case, or a person with a learning disability. It is a false friendship with the pure intention of exploiting the vulnerable person, whether it is exploitation in terms of financially exploiting them, so taking money, but also there are other forms of exploitation which come with this form of hate crime, which include physical, but sometimes also sexual exploitation. But these so-called friends or mates basically manipulate vulnerable people into things that they would not normally do. Maybe that is, doing things that are considered dangerous, or manipulating the person to the point where they're actually doing crimes on their behalf and protecting their mate. Mate crime can also involve the vulnerable person taking illegal substances, but also mate crime also involves, the person doing this act, manipulating this vulnerable person into letting themselves into the vulnerable person's home, trashing it, bringing other people around. Now, I know this video topic is quite dark, and what we've talked about already is really kind of serious. It's a thing that happens and has happened to people. I'm gonna leave examples down below and useful resources. This has happened to me, and this got me thinking about, who else has this happened to, or who is currently experiencing it and not realizing that it's wrong and manipulative. I guess the question that I have for you is, why are autistic people more susceptible to mate crime? From my own personal experience and my own opinion, autistic people want friendship. Some people might say, who say they're autistic, they might not value friendship, might not want it. That's absolutely fine. But for me personally, growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't know how to make friends. I kind of just muddled along, and I imagine that's your experience as well. But also it's important to recognize that being autistic, at the end of the day, sometimes is very isolating. It can be very isolating for those who experience it and live with it day to day. Whether it's just because you feel rejected by the people around you, you feel like you can't make friendships. And it could be harder to make friendships just because of the way our brain works. It doesn't mean that we're bad people or, it should be mocked. It's just we act in a different way, or think differently, or feel differently. And that's not something to be ashamed of at all. It is one of those things when it comes to friendships and making friends, it can be incredibly, difficult for someone who is autistic, and then they feel isolated because of it. But then that isolation can potentially grow because of past experiences, whether they have been bullied in the past, abused, or they generally lack certain skills, to manage their day-to-day life, especially when it comes to adults, whether it's managing money or other finances, being able to find employment, having the skills to be able to find work. So when someone out of the blue, is friendly towards someone who is autistic, it makes the autistic person feel wanted. It makes us feel like, there is hope. And sadly for this autistic person, even though they've been taken advantage of and it's wrong, they don't know any better. They'll stick up for the person because they think that it's normal that someone manipulates them and takes advantage. And this desire to make friendships is a very real thing for a lot of us. I mean, it's a real thing for me. The example that I have was in school. This person was talking about how they could get like the latest trendy thing that all the other kids had. It was like a like a thing. It was like a plasticky thing that you could stretch out and it would fling about. I can't remember what they were called, but effectively I was giving money to this person thinking that they were buying all of these things for me and they would give them to me later. And I worked it out. I was like 20 or 30 quid I gave to this person, or 20 or 30 pounds. But when I was thinking about this person I was giving money to, I was thinking, you know, with hindsight, why did I do that? Why would I willingly give this person money when I know now that nothing came of it? But it's incredibly easy for someone who is autistic or vulnerable to fall into this sort of thing. And while the example that I have, the lived experience that I have, is very minimal, you know, it's still a mate crime, effectively, though it wasn't called that at the time. And the other reason why autistic people may be more susceptible to mate crime is due to executive functioning. Now, I've done a whole video on this topic. I will link it up there. I think it's that way. It might be that way, actually. Yeah, I haven't done YouTube in a while, but heyo. There are different types of executive functioning issues that come about, sometimes with the general population, but it comes more of an issue when it comes to the neurodiverse community, autistic people, especially people with ADHD. So for example, with the regulating emotions, you know, that can affect how they control themselves in their behaviour. That can effectively make them more susceptible to other people's influence. If someone goes to a person like this with the intent of manipulating them for their own gain, you know, it can be catastrophic. I'm going to go into how to spot the warning signs of mate crime and ultimately how to protect yourself or someone that you love who is vulnerable, as we've previously discussed, from mate crime. So one of the warning signs could be the person has a erratic change of routine, erratic change of behaviour, their appearance is unkempt. Next warning sign, the person comments that his friends will be disappointed if a certain activity doesn't take place. They may express worry about losing their friend or friends. They may appear uneasy about the friendship. Point 3, the person suddenly appears to have a new friend or seems to have a larger friendship group, has more of an active social life. This new person or these new people have a massive influence over the person. Fourth point, if someone is older and has a will, you know, one sign could be that out of nowhere this person changes their will. Fifth point, spending more money than they normally would on things that they would not normally spend money on. You know, buying gifts for friends or paying their expenses. Like, by expenses, I mean things like taxi fares or paying their rent, taking them out somewhere or paying for gig tickets, like these sorts of things. So those are the signs, but how do you protect yourself? Well, first of all, if you are experiencing this yourself, talk to someone that you trust implicitly, or talk to someone of authority. For example, the police is generally the best place to go. And if this has happened to you, then I am so sorry that this has happened to you. I can imagine there's a sense of like embarrassment, humiliation, shame. Isolating yourself, shutting yourself off and not talking about it, it doesn't go away. So by telling someone that you trust, or you know, an authority that you trust, it is generally the first stepping stone that you need to take in order to protect yourself later down the line. Second tip, do not lend money to people, do not give people your personal possessions, like people you do not know or people that you do not feel comfortable with. I keep my personal possessions to me. I feel honestly very uncomfortable giving stuff to people. Even when it comes to people that I know, I generally feel uneasy about that sort of thing. Honestly, this tip is very, very important. Just be vigilant. Just be careful about, you know, giving money to people, especially if you don't know them. Tip number 3, seek out other autistic people. Seek out an autistic-based or autistic-led support group of some kind. Seek out autistic-led groups, whether it's in person or online. I'll leave some groups down below which I think are quite good for online purposes. But have a look around your local area, that sort of thing, because there'll be autistic people, you know, that, you know, have lived experience with the things that you experience, and therefore maybe be able to help guide you or advise you on what the best course of action is, especially if it's relating to this topic. Fourth tip, never let anyone into your home that you don't know or trust. Again, this, it comes down to, you know, just protecting yourself and, you know, the things that you own. But if it's people coming into your home for work related purposes, like to do something in your house, they should have accreditations on them to let you know who they are, where they're from, and what they are there to do. But obviously it's just about protecting yourself, protecting your home from, you know, what we've talked about today. It's just making sure that you're taking the necessary precautions. And if you enjoyed this video, share it with a friend. Use the share button down below and maybe hit the like button, because it really does help and I really do appreciate it. But for now, stay you, stay indie, and I will hopefully see you next time. Take care.